Okay, here's the main city, whatever this one is. If you were to go on live, this would be at the very top right. It would go all the way down to here, and Smasher would be at the very bottom. Um, or it would go from bottom up here, because we'll eventually get rid of this one right here, because it's just a 10 that I took to help build cities. Smasher is the war city. This one right here, I don't know the damn name of it. Trooper. That's your main distributor city. So all of that stuff is being sent here. All of the stuff that was in all these other cities, I've consolidated into this one. Or I'm in the midst of consolidating that right now. I'll go over all of these cities right here because it's really quick. They don't have any troops. I keep 50 scouts in them just in case you need to move something or take a flat or something like that. I mean, but that's it. That's all I leave in there. And very minimal. This is in here just because that's what was already in there. What I would normally have in here, the goals that I have set. Now I'll just go from top to bottom on these goals. I've got config hero in there, but there's no hero. The only hero in there is the training hero right now, so that's really not important. Plus all the heroes are up to date. Send troop goals, and you know, if you've never seen a send troop goal, send troops to 174-218, which is the main city, not the war city, but the main city. Send troops to 174-218. Workers 0. That's how many workers you're going to keep in here, which is 0. 50 million is the max limit that it'll get up to in that city right there, whatever those coordinates are, which is trooper. That's the max. Once that one gets up to 50 million workers, it'll stop sending workers, and it won't build anymore here because it's set to keep 0 here, right there. Now this right here means it'll send a minimum of 1 at a time to that city, and this means it'll send a maximum of 100,000 at a time to that city. Got the same goal set for every other troop. The only difference is, like I said, I've got scouts set to keep 50 here, which is what it's doing. We got 50 scouts in here. So it'll build scouts. Now, the next set of stuff that I have are troop building goals. And as you can see, I got a hashtag in front of every one of them, except scouts. I got it set to build 999 million scouts. Now it doesn't matter. As long as I've got it set to build plenty of scouts, because it's sending them away at a rate of anywhere from 1 to 100,000. Anything above 50 scouts, not 50 million, but 50 scouts. So it's going to keep 50 scouts here. Once the other one gets up to 999 million in that one city, it'll stop building them and stop sending them. And it's going to send them at a rate from anywhere from 1 to 100,000. So if it builds 7,000 scouts, it's going to send them on over there. That's how that send troops works. Everything else is hashtagged out. Like I said, just keep it to building enough number. Like if it's set to keep 50 scouts in here, you don't want it set to build only 100 scouts, because then it's only going to build 100 and send 50 at a time, or send 100 at a time at the most. Excuse me for that snort. I got a send resources goal in here, but that's not being used. The other goal is request resources. We're requesting resources from that same city, from Trooper. Now, all of these cities, one of these are going to be a little bit different, and I believe it's this one, gone, and I'll get with that. It's just going to be slightly different. But all of these cities, from Galaxy right here on down, skip over that one. All of these, you're going to have 6 to 7 cities that are going to be set up the same, and those are your troop builder cities. That one's a troop builder city also, but it's also the rendezvous point for when the war city's gone. So in all of these cities, I got to request resources, and it wants to keep at least 300 million lumber, 300 million stone, 300 million iron, at least 20 million gold, because you don't really need much more than that, and at least 300 million food in all of here. The second number means that it doesn't want the distributor city, which is Trooper, to get below 50 million in each one of these resources, gold, and I got it set for 50 billion at food, because that's got a considerable amount of troops in Trooper, so you don't want that getting too low in gold to where you can't feed those troops in there. I mean food to where you can't feed those troops in there. Again, this third number means this is the minimum amount that it'll send at one time, and this is the maximum amount, which is 1 billion. I could probably set it 1.25 billion, but I didn't. There's no point in that. It's never going to have to send 1 billion anyway at one time. I got config comfort. Troops use pop max, but that's not really necessary because I got production set at 0. I got metal hunting here if we want to use that. Defense policy, I got truce set at 95, because these cities right here really don't matter. The only thing that you want to have to worry about saving is the hero, because each one of them have a damn catapult hero in them. So we don't want to lose those. I got them set to build walls, and then down here at the bottom, production set at 0. Now, like I said, that knocks out 6 of our cities here. Okay, I'm gonna pause it and try to figure out where I want to go next. I guess the best bet will be to go to the main next. The main is where we're keeping all of the resources. Okay, you got the troop builder goals. I mean, you got the troop goals set up in here. I had it set to build 2 million transporters, which I guess I can switch that to scouts now because they're all built up. So do that. There we go. Building scouts. Now, in this one, I have it set to keep 5 million scouts in here. We're going to keep a certain amount of troops in here. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me go ahead. Now, I'm not going to build scouts in here. I'm going to change it and get those other troops, those other troop goals up to par. Okay, since I've only got it set to keep 5 million scouts in here, so I'm not going to bother building scouts in here because, number one, it needs other troops. I wanted to get these layers built, and the main and the war city I'll show you in a minute. It also needs layers, so I'll just have this one building layers, and then whatever it builds, whatever surplus it builds up, it'll send it to the one the rendezvous point. So if I got it set to build 20 million workers, but I've only got it set to keep 100,000 in here. I'll have to see how that goes. I think it'll just build 100,000 and then move on to the next thing. But we'll have to wait and see. But it'll get. I might have to go back and adjust those goals and just have to get back with you on the information on that. But right now I've got it set to keep 100,000 of each of those layers in here. 5 million scouts, 10 million archers, 2 million cavalry, 2 million cataphract, 2 million transporters, and 3 million of each mech is what it's set to keep in here. And it's pretty much got all the important stuff now. It's got to build some more cavalry and cataphract up and the layers. But it'll do that, no problem. It won't take no time. Then I don't know why I got farming cycle on here. I'm not farming. I'm going to hashtag that out. Require flats. I'll leave it. But it's going to have a significant army in here. Enough to at least buy you some time. You know, if we were to have to port the main city, the war city back over here to help it fight. With all of that stuff in there, somebody might see it and say, "Hey, I'm gonna go get this," and they, you know, it's going to have enough to, like I said, to put up a good fight until you can get back. And our truce is set at 99 on this one. I don't know. I mean, we might can change that, but anyway, got it set to build walls to. I do 1,000 of everything, and then the rest archer towers. That's how I do it. I don't know if there's any, you know, science to it, or you know, if there's some kind of better setup. It depends on what you want, I guess. You can tailor make it, or that's just kind of the default regular setup I go with, unless I have something that I need to tailor make. But what happens here is it keeps all of these troops are sent. I got the send troop goal in here, so all of these other cities are sending troops to this city right here. And once it gets up to whatever limit I have it set at right here, anything beyond that limit, it sends to these coordinates, which is this one right here, gone. Okay? So anything, I've got all these other cities, for example, I've got all of these other cities are set to build scouts right now. So they're building all of their scouts and they're sending them here. Well, this is only, the goals in here are only meant to keep 5 million scouts. So anything beyond 5 million scouts that comes here, it's going to automatically flip it over to this one right here. So as you can see, scouts are building up here. Transporters are building up here too, because I forgot to turn transporters off in that one. So here pretty soon, well, that kind of answers the question I had earlier about those rainbows. So here pretty soon, you should have warriors and pikemen and swordsmen and all that stuff piling up in here too, that I'll be able to reload the war city with. But this is the only difference between this one and all of these others. This one does the same thing as all of these other cities, except it doesn't send the troops to that city, because that city sends all of the surplus troops. Anything over the limits, it sends it to this city. And the reason it does that is because whenever I bring the war city home, I can just park it beside this one and send all of these surplus troops, because I know every troop in here is surplus. It's extra because the limits have already been met here in the main distributor city. So anything that's in here is all extra, and I can send it all to the war city whenever I port it back here. And the war city is a beast. We got 38 million catapults, damn near 16 million rams, 29 million ballistas in here, 12 million transporters. Got to build up the cataphracts and cavalry and the layers. We got 107 million scouts right now, but archers, my God, 125 million archers. We got this one set to build scouts, because scouts is what, you know, we really need to. The layers don't take it. They take no time to build up, because you don't have to have a hell of a lot of layers. Don't have to have a hell of a lot of goals in this one either. So let me pause it and get my bearings. One thing I do remember now is we're gonna leave about half the food in here. Well, this is what's happening right now. I mean, there can be another strategy, but about right now, you got about half the food in here, which is 409 billion. 428 billion in here, and then over here where I'm moving this gold from this city. It's 2.6 trillion gold left, and 94 billion food left to move from out of here, because you don't need all that food in here because it's just a troop builder city. So we'll still move another 90 plus billion, 94 billion food over to here. So that's going to put that one over 500 billion food. This one will have over 400 billion, so, you know, just under a trillion in food in the account right now. It's still on free food. But you want to leave, I'm thinking like putting, you know, which I need to send some iron over here, it looks like. But I'm thinking about putting, you know, leaving a good 10 billion in here of each resource. Because, you know, you get out there, if you stay out there for a while, you want to be able to build troops. So, and walls. So you need that stuff. Gold you certainly need to heal troops with. And for a number of other things, if you get out there stuck and you need to buy something from the market. I'm going to send some iron here, so I'll pause it. Alright, I got about 10 billion coming in here now of each one. So it'll get back to building troops. And this one isn't sending anything anywhere. This one only collects. And it collects from this one. So I think to wrap it up, I mean, like I said, here's your main city. It's what's going to keep all the resources. It will distribute it to all of these other cities as they need it, based on the request resource goals. So, the same with this one, except this one, all of these cities will send whatever troops they build back to this one, and it'll get up to its limits and then forward those troops over to this one. So this has the same send troop goals that all these other cities do. They're just hashtagged out because it's keeping everything. And it'll just rendezvous there. That's why I keep 3 billion instead of 300 million in this city, because, you know, you let it sit there long enough and build up troops and it's going to start having a food burn. Which, I mean, it would now if we wasn't on free food. But then, you know, like I said, once the sailor ports home here, then he can go get replenished, at least somewhat, right here. I think I'm just going to kind of cut it off right there. And if you've got any questions, you know, just let me know. I'll be happy to supplement this.